Hello, everyone, and welcome to Video Analytics Strategies for Monetizing the Video Experience presented by IneoQuest. I'm Samantha Bookman, Managing Editor, Fierce Telecom Group, and I'll be moderating this webinar. Our speakers today are Stuart Newton, Vice President of Corporate Strategy for IneoQuest, and Joel Daly, Senior Director of Product Management and Marketing for IneoQuest. You can read their full bios on the right side of your window. Just a few technical notes before we begin. If you have trouble reading a slide, please hold and drag the right corner of the slide window to enlarge. Please also disable your pop-up blocker to participate in the interactive parts of this presentation. We'll have some polling questions for you, so please weigh in with your opinions. At the bottom of the console, select the Download Slides button to view a PDF version of the slide deck. We'll follow the presentations with a Q&A session, so please submit your questions during or after the presentations using the Q&A box at the right of your window. Okay, let's begin with Stuart Newton.
Okay, thank you very much. So you should be able to see the title slide, and welcome to the webinar today, everybody. So we're going to be talking about video analytics strategies for monetizing the video experience. This can mean different things to different people depending on how you deliver the video within your companies and how far you are in terms of delivering multi-screen video. But what we'll do is try to cover a fairly broad base today, and then we can home in with you afterwards on different types of questions and any other questions you have. So the agenda today, we're going to look at two aspects of this. One is monetizing strategy, when we're going to look at video delivery complexities, pragmatic ways to monetize the video experience, and then talk about a new dimension of analytics that is needed to be able to monetize video as we go across more and more multi-screen architectures. The second part of the agenda today will be video analytics, where we take a deeper dive and look at some of the analytics that we're providing and how you can use some of the new technologies and new solutions to be able to deliver against what we're going to talk about in the first part of the presentation. So, firstly, delivering video services is difficult. For those of you that have experienced the launch of IPTV video services and the initial use of video over IP and cable video deployments in the early days, you'll appreciate what a learning curve this can be. Video manages to find issues in networks like no other form of data. If there are bad connectors in the network or buffers are overflowing or underrunning within the network, there's a good chance a viewer will experience some kind of artifact. And as we move into the world of adaptive streaming, as people start using more and more video delivered across different types of screens, whether that's tablets, whether it's phones, whether it's PS3 set-top boxes or using smart TVs or Xboxes, those kind of devices for delivering multi-screen video, they start to find additional artifacts and additional imperfections in the video that are in addition to the traditional faults that we used to see with IPTV and cable video, such as looping. If you're watching adaptive video streams and it's looping, that is typically something that we didn't used to see in the IPTV and the cable space. You can have a lot more issues with startup times of the streams as well. And the bottom line is that unless the content being watched is original content, so there isn't a choice to be able to go elsewhere and get that same content, you really need to be able to make sure the video is delivered well, because there are numerous statistics out there. You see one on the screen here today, that people will walk if the video isn't good. They'll either walk, or if it's original content, they will start demanding their money back. And there are several examples of that, high-profile examples of that recently. So in terms of delivering video services, we've been doing linear IPTV and cable video deployments for over 12 years now. We've been doing adaptive streaming for 4 to 5 years now. And we have a vast amount of experience with that, and we're going to talk through some of this. So if you start looking at multi-screen video today, there are multiple dimensions of unknowns that you need to understand. Did the video run? Was it right? How the viewers are watching it? If not, why did they go away? Was it something to do with the quality? All kinds of things that are very difficult to get hold of today as we move out to more and more screens. The other issue that we have to deal with is the constantly changing standards, protocols, delivery platforms, a lot of different aspects of change going on in the industry today that we're going to talk about a bit more as well. Different management platforms are needed. In the past, single management platforms could be used for an end-to-end view. Now you've got to cater for a lot of different types of networks that may not have unified management and big data systems on the back end. You need to figure that out as well. And as in the early days of IPTV, people soon realized that you need an end-to-end view of how the video is being delivered versus a siloed view across the video head end or the network and the edge of the network. You need to have that end-to-end visibility, or you have loss of control and you get a negative impact on monetization. So how do you do that? Well, you need information. And the way we categorize the information is in two ways. First is operational, and the second is behavioral. So if you're looking at the operational side, what we're talking about there is the video quality, the program availability, what the uptime was of the video. Was your video there 99.98% of the time? Was it good? If you had issues with the network, what's the mean time to resolve? How quickly did you manage to fix the issues? As you may have seen in the press recently, if you've got some original content that goes out and you get issues with it, and that issue lasts an hour, by the time you fix that, people may have gone off to another source such as BitTorrent and got access to that same content and then demand a refund. So you cannot afford to take a long time to solve these issues today. The second aspect is behavioral data. And when we're talking about behavioral, we're talking about who's watching the video on what kind of device, in which kind of geography, across which kind of networks, how long they're watching for, all those kind of aspects. And if you start to combine these two, you start to get something very valuable, which is the ability to analyze churn management and actually predict churn management when you can see certain patterns occurring. And the diagram at the bottom of the screen here is really indicative of all the different probing points that you need to look at and gather that data from in the end-to-end infrastructure. So pragmatically, in terms of monetizing the video experience, we look at this in three different ways. Firstly, you need to assure the video. We've been through the video is difficult. You need to gather the data. You need to make sure that there's a good quality experience, because people will pay for good video in good quality. They will not want to pay for good video if it's not in good quality. People will watch poor quality video, if they don't have to pay for it. But if they have to pay for it, they will want it in good quality. So you need to make sure the user experience is good in terms of getting the video and how they watch it. The second phase is optimization. Delivering video is expensive. Whether you're using third-party infrastructure or whether you're spending CapEx to build your own infrastructure, you need to be able to make sure that you are squeezing the most you can out of those CapEx dollars or whatever you need to spend, or however you get hold of that equipment. You need to make sure that you're getting the most out of it. And there's two aspects of that. One is profiling the infrastructure itself to make sure that you have the most efficient layout of the infrastructure in terms of delivering the video. But secondly, the content. If you have the right information coming in, you can determine that you maybe don't need to be sending out the same bit rates at different times of the day or to certain types of devices at certain times of the day. And you can start profiling how you deliver the video by time slots if you can get the data. The other thing is if you start to gather behavioral data and you can start to really understand how your viewers are using the video, how your viewers are consuming the video, you can start to spot the content that maybe isn't as profitable for you as it should be. And unless you're a state-owned video provider where you have to deliver the video no matter what, you have to make sure that you've got a profitable service. So profiling your infrastructure for both, profiling your network for both the video delivery infrastructure itself and making sure you're making most of the CapEx spends or OpEx spends, as well as making sure you've got the right content is key. If you look back at those two, if you've got really good content but you don't have an optimized delivery infrastructure, you're leaving money on the table. That's money that you could be saving. If you have a really optimized infrastructure but you have poor quality because you're not keeping an eye on the service assurance, you're again leaving money on the table because you'll have high churn and people will leave. But if you get those two right, then you can start looking at the third aspect, which is the personalization of the information and the video. And one of the things that is becoming more apparent in the industry today is that if you get the video services right and you can get advertising that is more relevant, people are more open to advertising and they're more open to recommendations. And the industry is definitely changing in this direction. There are many, many stats out there now that will say that people are watching more of the adverts as they play out. They are more accepting of it, providing you provide them with content that is relevant. So let's look at this from a different aspect at the moment. The industry today is changing very quickly. There is more technological change in the industry than we have ever seen in terms of IPTV and cable in the past. There's always the move to higher definition screens. So we have Ultra HD coming through. We have the high efficiency video codec coming through. So you can get bigger screens, or you can get higher compression down the wire effectively to the same size screens. We have CDNs being used to deliver the video, whether they're operator-owned on-net CDNs, whether they're third-party CDNs, whether they're cloud infrastructures with dynamically allocated CDN infrastructures in them. Mobile is starting to get affected heavily now by video. The forecasts for the amount of video that's going to go over the mobile infrastructure is colossal. And a lot of the experience that has come from the IPTV and the cable space now has to start flowing over into the mobile infrastructure. People need to understand how to deliver better quality video to mobile devices. Virtualization and network functions virtualization, NFV, is huge in the industry at the moment. A lot of people are looking to use virtualized functions across the delivery infrastructures. Cloud services, an exponential growing amount of endpoint devices, different DRM technologies. The list goes on. And when you start to look at this in comparison to the monetization cycle, to the monetization components that we talked about, you start to see that this complexity requires an iterative monetization cycle. A lot of customers, a lot of operators that we've been working with started off with a certain infrastructure in their adaptive video head end. Now they've got more subscribers, they're starting to expand, they're starting to generate revenue from those services. They're changing that infrastructure. They're learning from the first phase, and they're changing it, and they're doing it a slightly different way. Or they're starting to look at adding in ultra-high definition, or they're starting to use cloud services more and things like that. And if you actually look at this flow in terms of moving forward, every time something changes within that delivery infrastructure, you need to go through that cycle again. If you add more high-definition streams, if you move to virtualization, if you use cloud transcoding, you add different protocols, HLS, smooth, whatever you do there, you need to go through that cycle again. You need to reassure it to make sure it's right, make sure you're not going to get churn issues. You need to re-optimize your network to make sure that you haven't done something to upset the CDN delivery infrastructure, or the packaging's gone wrong at the head end, or something like that. You need to go through that cycle again. And if you do, you can then start targeting the services and better advertising again and start to truly generate that growth on the returns. And as you get more subscribers, of course, that task gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And you need to keep going through this cycle. So when you go through all that and you look at that complexity and you look at the cycles that you have to go through to do that, and then you start to look at the extent of the infrastructure that has to be covered today, the task is very challenging. There's no more walled garden visibility into the networks. With IPTV and cable video deployments, everything was under control of the operator typically. Everything from the head end through the core network, through the edge, and out to the set-top boxes. It was all within a walled garden. It could all be controlled. That doesn't work for multi-screen so much anymore. You'll see lots of acquisitions and mergers and things like that going on in the industry today because people are trying to regain that control, because they know that to deliver reliable multi-screen services that people will pay for, they need to be able to control these networks and be able to see how well the multi-screen video is being delivered across the entire infrastructure. And we've got new players coming in into this field. And before it was the IPTV and the cable providers. Now we have all the content providers that are delivering video via third-party CDNs such as Limelight, Akamai Level 3. They may be cutting deals with the operators, such as we've heard in the US recently. There's a whole new There's a whole new set of games going on in the industry to be able to do this, but you need visibility across the whole thing. And the traditional providers, the telcos and the cable companies on the bottom left there that you can see, are not only building out their own CDN infrastructure, but they're also looking to use third-party infrastructure because they need to be able to get out to Wi-Fi clouds and across mobile infrastructures and things like that. And at every point across this network, you need to be able to do the operational monitoring to be able to see what's going on. So, to recap, to be able to cover multi-screen services today, we need a new dimension of analytics. We need operational and behavioral. We need simplified, meaningful, actionable analytics. The more real-time, the better, because you can't afford to wait until a program or a sports event is finished to find out that a large percentage of your customers have disappeared off and got the content from BitTorrent or other places like that. You need to be able to fix the issues quickly. It also means that if you fix the issues quickly enough, you don't have to start giving refunds to your customers as well. Monetization intelligence is becoming very, very important. If you want to be able to target new services and advertising, you need to have that intelligence as to what's going on. And there are two aspects on the advertising. You can look at the advertising from the perspective of, if I know which content my customers are consuming at which times of the day, what's the content that's being watched the most, then you can start time slicing the slots during the day to charge more for advertising during those slots. But there's also the aspect of targeted advertising through actual individual targeting of advertising. And the industry has a way to go with that in terms of targeting adverts to specific people or much smaller demographics, but that is coming as well. And any monetization intelligence or monitoring that you do with in these infrastructures will be able to pick that up. You need to be able to cross-link to customer support systems, advertising management, and marketing systems. And you also, as we discussed earlier, need to be able to look at service tuning and provisioning efficiencies, so you can get the maximum out of the capex or the opex spend you're doing on the network infrastructure. Lastly, unified network and service view. If you look from the end devices back into the network, what you're really getting is a service view. If you have a player for your particular service and you're getting statistics from the end devices, you've got a service level view of how well that particular video service is running, and you can look back into the network and try and use that information to correlate with information further upstream. The network view is really looking at, from the network perspective, to see all the services that are going out. So there's a big difference between having a particular player with intelligence in it to report how things are working from a service view versus being able to put probing technology into the network to be able to get a network-centric view of how all the video is being delivered from that network infrastructure. And the goal here really is that if we can provide the ability to have actionable, meaningful video analytics, pre-crunched at multiple levels, so we can provide all the information you need to know about how well the video is being delivered, then the operators can actually use those analytics, those pre-crunched, pre-filtered analytics, to be able to cross-link to other big data systems and really start focusing on greater monetization of the services. So with that, Sam, I'll hand back to you, and I think we'll move on to Joel next.
Great. Thank you, Stuart. Okay, so I'd like to hand this over to Joel Daly. Joel, go ahead.
Thank you, Stuart. Again, I'm Joel Daly. I run product management for IneoQuest. And for this part of the presentation, what we wanted to do is Stuart gave you some high-level overview of the monetizing the video experience and what's happening in the market. We wanted to review what IQ solutions are available to help you provide operational and behavioral analytics. And as Stuart said, the key to really monetizing video is the ability to deploy solutions that allow you to assure your video quality in your network. Not only that, but to optimize the network for that video quality, but ultimately get to the point where you can personalize the content to be able to monetize the video, and that's what we're going to talk about in the solutions that we have. IneoQuest has been a market leader for the last 8 to 10 years, and for many years we've been delivering video quality assurance solutions. So if you look at this slide, you'll see all the green arrows are probes in the network that we see through a single pane of glass to collect metrics for video quality assurance in real time. We have solutions in the head end and on the edge for linear. We have full solutions for adaptive, which would be intra-CDN monitoring. We've introduced solutions to the market for cloud monitoring and all the way up to the edge. The new piece that we're bringing to the market that Stuart talked about is adding behavioral analytics, which is understanding the subscriber behavior and the viewership. But a new twist that we're bringing to the market is actually being able to tie that behavior and viewership with quality. So you can actually correlate the two together and make some key decisions for your business and allow you to monetize that video. So I just want to recap what we mean by behavioral analytics, and Stuart had touched upon this briefly, but we mean being able to understand from a subscriber perspective the user behavior, what they're watching, how long they're watching it, on what devices they're watching it from, and what types of, what regions they're in, specifically in real time, and to collect that over a period of time. But the difference is being able to collect that with quality statistics so that you can do real-time troubleshooting, but also analytics over a week, over a month, over a year to understand are there any issues with the content or are there issues with the network? Are there any issues with my advertisements in certain regions? What videos do people tend to watch and watch next? But ultimately, we're trying to get to the point where you can correlate bad quality issues with the subscriber and how much bad quality they can actually tolerate. So some statistics that we have gathered in the market, as well as working with some of our customers, these happen to be from Akamai and Jupiter Research, is why do we care about operational analytics in general, with the understanding that bad quality video on the network has an impact on your revenue. And we've seen that 60% of subscribers are less likely to return if they see bad quality video, and 50% will try to seek alternative services. But the big statistic here is 25%. Stuart talked about churn, will not return at all. This is a key statistic, but if you don't understand the behavior based on quality, you won't know that that 25% of your subscriber base left due to quality. So secondly, why do you care about the operational behavior? And this ties it all together. Again, we've collected some statistics. This one happens to be from Level 3 in Video News with correlating some of the customers that we work with. And you can definitely say that when users see bad video, they watch less. And when users see good video, they watch more than 100% more of video, which allows you to maximize your eyeballs and allows you to actually grow your revenue and your subscriber base. So there's a direct correlation between bad quality video and good quality video and growing your revenue. So we've looked at these things, and we're bringing some products to market to try to solve these challenges for you, specifically about understanding what's going on in your network and understanding what's going on with the subscriber behavior in three specific areas. A solution that not only gives you video quality assurance, but when you have a network issue on a program, you can see the subscriber reaction. And vice versa, when you see subscribers doing different things in the network, you can then quickly correlate it back to, was it a content issue or was it a quality issue in the network? We collect that information in real time, and then we store it over a year's time and give you engines to be able to do analytics on that. So you can leverage that information, as Stuart said, to push content into different regions, as well as to do targeted advertising, and understand, is it an edge caching issue? Do I have a network issue? Are people's behaviors changing because the quality is impacted via the network? As an example, we've had customers who have put a sports package together and rolled it out into some regions for $100, and no one was taking it. But by understanding the viewership and behavior, you can tailor a package for that region for less money to be able to try to get some eyeballs and get some more subscribers. So as a solution, IneoQuest has had an audience measurement platform in the market for several years. It's been specifically targeted towards VOD and SPV customers. We've taken that platform and enhanced it specifically for adaptive video and understanding viewership analytics. It's an audience measurement platform that goes out and collects metrics and statistics from probes that are in the network to correlate in real time the quality of the video with the viewership metrics. It gives you easy access to that information. We can support up to 1.5 million active users and up to 5 million total users to be able to do analytics on and understand what's going on in the network. There's two areas in the network that we can put probes in. One is for people who have their own CDNs, and another is for people who leverage third-party CDNs, as well as possibly content providers, to passively monitor sessions at edge caches. And lastly, we're going to talk about some of the software probing technology we're introducing that can wrap into an endpoint like a smartphone or a tablet. Some of the types of metrics that we're talking about collecting would be player event metrics, play pause, download rates, bit rates, buffer sizes, specifically errors, 4x errors, 5x errors. We can gather statistics on the player. We can gather statistics on the QoS or QoE or segment quality of the video stream itself. We can gather statistics on the location, time zone, and device. So there's a whole host of metrics that we can collect from different points in the network to provide to you, which you can also do analytics on with the platform or send those things northbound for analytics in your other big data systems. So in the short term, we've introduced the audience measurement platform, and it will support audience measurement as well as video quality assurance for people who have their own CDN. So if you look at this chart here, typical CDN, when you have your encoding, transcoding, segmenting, origin server, mid and edge caches, we can place one of our probes after the edge cache to monitor all the live sessions, to sort of look at all the client behavior with the quality of service of delivery and viewership information, and feed all that information back up to an audience measurement platform, AMP, to give you that correlation. So it's giving you the real-time audience measurement and the real-time quality stats in real time and for up to a year to be able to perform business analytics. There's also a northbound interface, so we collect that information and we can feed it northbound into any system that you have with a certain level of processing or unprocessed up into your big data system. We will be also introducing to market later on this year a second piece of the solution where if you do not own your own CDN, you could be leveraging partly your own CDN, a third-party CDN. You could be leveraging a mobile network or be a content provider where we can validate the quality of the video coming out of your head end, and then once it goes through any of these network infrastructures, we have a light software development kit that can be integrated into a video player that you have, specifically in the first release for an iOS or an Android device, a smartphone or a tablet, and it will collect metrics from that device, QoS, QoE metrics, player stats, player metrics. So, and we understand the quality of the stream, and we understand the viewership behavior, and it gives you an end-to-end view. So you understand the video as it left your head end, going through any of those network infrastructures, and then you can see the quality of that going out of at the subscriber's endpoint, and understand that it got there and the quality is good, and understand behavioral statistics. So that's just a brief overview at a high level with the solution that we're offering. The AMP solution is available today for VOD as well as for SDV type behavioral analytics. We've introduced the AMP to the market, and it will be available in the June-August timeframe for the first piece of it for your own edge caching sites. Later on in the year, we'll be working with customers on integrating into endpoints and end clients. We've put this solution together because we understand delivering video is hard. Consumers demand high quality. You need to have visibility not only of the operational piece of your network, but the behavioral piece of your network. Understanding that tying direct relationship between the behavior to quality, understanding over time how to gather that information and monetize it in a pragmatic way. So assuring that the video is good in the head end through the network to the end, to be able to optimize the way you deliver that video in your network and your network infrastructure to save cost, and then ultimately understand who's watching what on what devices and how I can push content to those different regions and how I can target advertising. So IneoQuest Solution that we've brought to market is a unique solution because we feel that we're one of the only players in the market that has a solution that can correlate what's going on in the network with the endpoint in real time and provide you analytics from us and all the data northbound for up to 5 million users for over a year. So that's the solution in the summary of the webinar. I'll pass it back to the moderator.
Okay, great. Thank you, Joel. All right, we're going to move on to the Q&A section. We have lots of great questions, and we'll try to get to as many of them as possible. So we're going to go ahead and start with the first question. Let's see. What are the biggest challenges to providers in monetizing video services?
Joel, do you want me to say that?
Yeah, go ahead. Take a swing at that.
Okay. I think that is a bit of a how long is a piece of string question, unfortunately. The biggest challenge really depends on what the operator or the content provider actually has control of and can see. We've talked to many operators that find that their initial challenges they're in the very early phases. Their initial challenge is just getting the quality right, be able to deliver the video in the first place. We're still in relatively early days for adaptive streaming delivery of video to multiple types of devices. As we said, assuring the video is the first challenge. Many people believe that because it's HTTP-based for adaptive streaming and because you get retries and because you've got varying bit rates, that adaptive streaming, as it was designed, would actually solve all the issues for video delivery, and that's just not the case. It allows you to tune a bit because of ebbs and flows in the bandwidth available on the network infrastructures, but actually there's a huge amount more complexity in delivering adaptive video streaming services because when you go from the head end out to the edge, you've got multiple bit rates, you've got packages, you've then got on-net and off-net CDNs with different reporting infrastructures, different types of edge caches, all different types of devices on the end as well. So the first thing that the operators find is that you've got to get the quality right. Then you can focus on assuring the network, and then you can truly start looking at the monetizing aspect of it. If you get visibility across all these different things and you can really get that data and you know your service is going well, then you can start looking at generating more revenue through price increases and things like that. But the biggest challenge really at the moment is actually delivering the services in the first place. Joel, do you have anything to add to that, or does that pretty much cover it?
No, I think that covers it, but I think also understanding why people aren't watching different pieces of content and being able to tailor packages to different regions and getting that real-time information and feedback allows you to monetize your services and give you visibility that you didn't have before.
Okay, great. Let's go to the next question. This reader question is, I'm using another video analytics tool for OTT services. Can I integrate it with IneoQuest?
Joel, do you want that one?
Yes, I'll take that one. So our solution itself can collect the metrics and it can deliver the information to any tool that you have. It's completely exposed on the northbound side. We allow you full access to that data. In terms of other probes, that's not something that we would integrate with in the network, but any backend or OSS and BSS systems that you have, we can fully support and fully integrate into.
Okay, great. That leads into our next question. What devices and clients are currently supported, and what is the interface to TV middleware, and which ones are supported?
So right now, the first solution, we put a probe that passively monitors the session at your edge cache. In that sense, we have no restrictions on the client. We support HLS, we support Adobe, we support Smooth Breathing, we support Dash for whatever client is streaming that or connected to that stream. When we introduce the SDK in the second half of the year, it'll be introduced just specifically for iOS devices, 6.0, and Android devices, 4.1 Plus with a stage fright framework, targeted at smartphones and tablets. And as we move forward, we'll integrate in with other endpoint devices. But that's what we support today. And from a middleware perspective, we provide full northbound support of the data, but we're not integrated with TV middleware at this point.
Okay. Next question. Will you please talk to how advertisers utilize the customer-specific behavioral insights, such as detailed usage, knowing the privacy restrictions, and so forth?
I can take that one, Joel, if you want.
Yep, go ahead.
Yep. Okay. So it really depends where you're getting the data from, as to who owns it. If we're monitoring in a operator infrastructure, that data is owned by the operator. So the operator will be bound by regulations as to what they can do with that data, how much they need to scrub it, and so on before they can leverage that data to advertisers and other companies that are interested in that data. If it's a content provider delivering across other infrastructures and the analytics are coming from the end device itself, then it falls under the kind of category of asking the user for permission to send that kind of data, whatever the rules are within that particular country, that particular region, for being able to do that. So from our perspective, that issue is really something that is a decision by the operator based on what they're allowed to do with the data, or the content provider on what they're allowed to do with that data. I do believe that this is going to create a whole new ballgame, effectively, of analytics, because a lot of the analytics that are out there today are a lot of guesswork, or a lot of surveys and samples and things like that. What we're talking about here is the potential ability to know exactly what is happening in real time on video services. And we believe this will be used in future for things like real-time bidding. So we know that 5 million people watched the last advert that was played 10 minutes ago. Who wants to bid on the next advertising slot in 10 minutes' time? And that's going to need much tighter relationships between the operators and the content providers in terms of being able to leverage that data and as to what they are allowed to use of that data based on privacy restrictions.
I would also add to that in development of the system, privacy is first and foremost in our development. All communications from the AMP system to the end device are encrypted. There's no user identifiable information that's collected at all whatsoever to be correlated. So, all the systems that we design and build are designed around privacy policies.
Okay, great. Next question falls right into the privacy section. How do you manage privacy concerns regarding behavioral analytics?
I think that's the same
question.
Yeah, same question, really. It's a good question, but as Joel said, we try to make sure we do make sure that anything that is out in the open internet. So if you're sending analytics back from the new end client device monitoring that we're going to be launching this year, it's all encrypted. Everything else that we're monitoring with the probes within the network infrastructures is contained within that private domain anyway. So it's only things that go out externally to that domain across the internet that we need to make sure is totally encrypted at this point. But as Joel said, everything that we do is geared towards that kind of privacy.
Okay, great. Next question. Do you support HEVC?
I can take that question. So from HEVC perspective, we actually do support some preliminary versions of HEVC in some of our head-end monitoring platforms. We'll support it within our solutions from a general availability perspective, within the August-September timeframe. But we're working, with the standards bodies, and we have beta and demo capability of HEVC right now for HD and for Ultra HD and all the different frame rates for transport stream, VOD, and we're working on dash support as well.
Okay, great. Let's see, next question. We have quite a few coming in now. Do you have any plans to cover the mobile infrastructure?
I'll take that one. The answer is yes. What we're doing at the moment and moving through this year is we're looking to bring all the expertise that we have from delivering IPTV and cable video and adaptive streaming over the last 5 years across to the mobile infrastructure. We can't go into too much depth there at this point, but the current way of handling video within the mobile infrastructure is really to look at a DPI level, which is this a video packet, is this an audio packet, and provide what's called a QoS level, which is basically a delivery priority level across that infrastructure. So what we are very keen to do is bring across the entire portfolio of IneoQuest capabilities on top of that DPI capability, so you can truly do everything that we've been talking about here today by monitoring within the the mobile infrastructure as well. And over the last 18 months, we've also been doing a lot of work with companies like Intel, where we've been pioneering NFV solutions, where we've been virtualizing some of our technology in proof of concepts and moving that down into the radio access network. As caching moves further out into the mobile infrastructures in future, you're going to need to do these kind of analytics further out past those caching points. So we're doing a lot of work in that space as well to prepare for that.
Great. Next question. Does IneoQuest Solution also check for the video audio quality, and at which points?
So I'll take that one. The IneoQuest Solutions in general check for video and audio quality for the quality of service as well as for the QoE. We can do that in the head end. We can do that with probes in intra-CDN. Specifically, in this solution, we check for it looking at passively monitoring at the edge cache, and we can also check for video quality in the endpoint device when we introduce that product to market. But just in general, I would say that's one advantage that we have. We're clearly focused on video quality assurance for audio and for the video, and we have an end-to-end solution for that, and we're now introducing viewership for adaptive to that.
Great. And next question. What metrics do you collect from the client ends by integrating with their player?
So we collect things like player events, play, pause, seek, stop, download rates, bit rates, going all the way out to the end client. From the caching site, you can do viewer statistics and quality of service from a control plane perspective, but when you go out to the end client, you can add quality of experience like freeze frame, like black frame, like slices, macro blocks, those type of errors that we can collect to assure the video quality, as well as we support the VeriStream standard, which we use on all our other products to give you an idea of the video availability and quality.
Okay, great. Really quick, just wanted to let folks know you can still submit questions. Also, I just had a quick question about getting a handout copy of this. You can select the Download Slides button at the bottom of the console to get a PDF version of the slide deck. I believe that will handle the handouts. So we'll go to the next question. The challenge in this space is the DRM aspect. What other technologies beyond AES 128 do you have or plan to have this year?
I don't know if that's a relevant question for this particular discussion. So we're introducing a product to market which, it is encrypted, HTTP SSL encrypted communication between the product itself and between the audience measurement platform, but I don't know if that's applicable here, Stuart. What do you think?
No, I don't know. It's maybe more related to the
mobile
types of encryption being used for the end-to-end delivery. So in terms of maybe just recap on that. So in terms of video delivery, what we do is we look at the best thing you can do is look at the video head end to make sure that from a quality of experience, the actual video quality and audio quality itself is good, and the QoS as well in terms of the actual packetized delivery of the video. Once you get out into the infrastructure, you're really looking at QoS. So if anything's encrypted both on linear or adaptive streaming, we can still look at the QoS of the end-to-end stream. And in fact, that's how we've been doing it for years in the IPTV and the cable space, and that's how we do it in the adaptive streaming space today. So the only thing that the encryption really affects is if you want to be able to see the video itself downstream of the CDN for adaptive video delivery. And to be able to do that, you need to be able to decrypt the video. So if it's AES encrypted, then when we can get access to the keys, then we could potentially get access to that video and decrypt it and then do QoE downstream of the CDN. If it uses a third-party encryption methodology, then we are building partnerships at this point in time in the industry to be able to do things like that in future as well with non-AES encrypted streams.
But I would add to that by saying we'll have more detail when we roll the product out in the market, but we can support AES encrypted communication, and we do have a method to do that. And so to answer the question, we can support it, and we'll provide more detail in the second half.
Great. Do you have any plans to support Dash?
We currently support a pre-standard version of Dash, or the current standard. The standard's evolving right now. We have people on the committee, and the platform itself will support Dash, and as the standards emerge, we'll continue to emerge with them.
Great. Okay, next question. How do you address analytics on HTTPS transactions?
That's a good question. We generally, correct me if I'm wrong, Joel, but we generally don't, most of the streams that we're looking at, whether it's HLS or Smooth, aren't HTTPS anyway, right?
Yes. It's basically HLS and Smooth, Adobe, or Dash at this point.
So we may use HTTPS for secure retrieval of the analytics.
Yes.
In terms of monitoring the actual adaptive streams themselves, they're not HTTPS.
We're not. It's not like an RTMP or an HTTPS type of solution that we're monitoring.
Okay, great, thank you. And will you be able to correlate the end device analytics with the network or head-end information?
So I can take that one. So yes, we have a video management system that we have which correlates the information in the head end as it leaves the head end, and it also can correlate information in the transcoding, segmenting, origin server, mid-cache, and edge cache. So you can collect statistics on network issues there. The AMP itself will collect statistics from the edge cache location and all the way out to the endpoint client. And we're working on, you can correlate the two by looking at both systems and alarming in both systems. And we're working on ways to have northbound traps between the two systems to alert you of a video quality issue in the network infrastructure and to go in and look in the AMP and investigate how it correlates to behavior. So right now we have the two systems which you can correlate, and we're integrating the two systems together to be more dynamic.
Okay, great. Great. I think that is all the questions that we have for time for today. So I want to thank everyone for attending the webinar. We had a lot of great questions today. Couldn't get to quite all of them, but we'll be getting back to everyone who submitted them personally after the webinar. So thank you for attending this Fierce Live webinar and submitting so many great questions. I'd like to thank our speakers for participating and IneoQuest for sponsoring today's webinar. This webinar has been recorded. You'll be able to access that recording within 24 hours on the same page that you used to register for this event. So thank you again for joining, and we look forward to seeing you at future events.